G'day guys, welcome to My Blue Heaven. Great to have the match reviews back for 2021, albeit just a practice match review. So a little bit of practice for myself in this regards. Great to have the footy back yesterday at Princess Park. Live stream, disappointing that we couldn't be there to watch that. Looked like a beautiful morning for football, no wind, sun was out. We won by 21 points. Result really not significant. Practice matches are practice matches, but when you win by 21 points against an arch enemy like Essendon, there's always a nice feeling about it. But let's face it, Essendon are probably going to be a bottom six team in 2021. They fielded a pretty inexperienced team yesterday. They had two first-year players in Nick Cox and Archie Perkins, who got a fair run, and also Nick Bryan, the ruckman, and Harrison Jones up forward. It was a bit of a handful. A couple of second-year players there. We didn't field any first-year or second-year players, so we went in pretty experienced. So you'd expect to get a win on the board. I don't know how much I take out of this, so let's put that on the board now. I've got to put all of this into context, but what I try to look for in these practice games are some of the new things we might be doing, and individually, what is the development? What is the evolution of these players individually to form, the nucleus of a really good football team? Who are trying to kick bad habits? Is it the same old with certain players? And a couple of things sort of stood out for me yesterday in that regards, but it's just one game. It's a long season. And Essendon aren't the most aggressive team in the competition. In fact, I think really they're probably their least aggressive team. And that's no disrespect. I don't think they put a lot of heat on us at all. It's going to be a hell of a lot different against St Kilda in the full dress rehearsal next week before we take on Richmond in round one. And that is what the real focus should be. Richmond in round one. I don't think it's acceptable anymore in our journey that we rock up against Richmond and fall short, whether it's by 5 goals or 2 points. We're at the stage now where we should be taking some big scalps, and we need to start the season well, because I reckon the shit's going to hit the fan pretty early on if we don't start the season well. Not necessarily, like shit won't hit the fan if Richmond beat us, but if we go zipping 3, zipping 4 in the opening 4 rounds, then, geez, goodness gracious me. From a positive point of view, I thought our ball use, not a lot of pressure, as I mentioned before, from Essendon. It was a bit like a game of basketball. It was good, though. I thought we hit targets in general field play, not so much inside forward 50. I think Sard, is going to really improve that side of the game. I thought Doherty and Setterfield's ball use was excellent, particularly Setterfield on that wing, that defensive wingman role he played. I don't know about that role, but I thought his ball use was good. It was really steady. Same with SBS on both sides of the body. You can sort of see why there's this persistence in playing him behind the ball, because he's really good at setting up the play from that area. But wouldn't you like his ball use going inside forward 50? Murphy's ball use was good, and I thought Willow's ball use was something that I was looking for from him over the pre-season. Was an area of his game which we wanted to see develop. Not so much his ball use, but his decision making and his composure. And as I said, you got to be a little bit careful with this and put it into context, because I didn't think Essendon put us under a hell of a lot of pressure in yesterday's game. But that was a positive. Our new players, particularly Sard and Williams, Fogarty to a lesser extent. Thought Sard was outstanding in his first game for the football club. I suppose the real test for us is going to be able to find that balance of releasing him. We have that team defence ethos where we can cover for his man. He needs to defend strongly when it's his turn to go, but because he's such a weapon with his speed and his pace, we need to be able to release him at any opportunity. Williams as well, because they're such weapons with their speed and their penetration. So have we been used to that sort of selfishness? Can Teague instill that into this group is going to be interesting to see, because at the end of the day, we bring Sard to the football club to be a weapon, and something we lack is that penetration by foot is that metres gain type player. And we really don't have anyone else other than him to be able to do that. So that's something I'm going to be looking out for. Some of his runs, his blistering runs, particularly in that third quarter through the middle, were just eye-catching and really damaging. So really good. Williams, good. You know, he sort of flashed in and out of the game, won some really good clearances, showed what a clinical finisher he can be when he went forward in that third quarter and kicked a lovely goal. Fogarty did some nice things, or he used the ball pretty well. Don't know about cross half forward. I mean, it's very early days yet, but it's a bit like starvation sort of half forward. High half forward could be his go, sort of pushing up onto a wing. Did see him in a couple of centre bounces. I hope they persevere with him. I hope he plays next week against the Saints, and I hope he even gets an opportunity in round one, because I think once he gets some confidence up, he could really add something to our football team. Paddy Dow was the standout for mine. Probably not the best on the ground, but the standout in terms of his impact. It was great to see him return to that little bit of confidence, or that confidence he showed when he sort of burst onto the scene when he was an 18-year-old, where we just sort of thought, wow, you know, this kid should have been the number one draft pick. We lost him for 2 years, basically. He's not back yet. Footy's about consistency. You know, there's been a bit spoken about his change in physique, which is important, but I think what we saw yesterday was possibly a change in mindset, responsibility of going into the centre bounce. I think we counted him at something like 10 centre bounces or 9 centre bounces for the game. He got his hands on the ball at the centre bounce, whether it was by hand. I think he made really good decisions by hand. And we know he's not the greatest kick, but he put the ball to advantage, and we know he can be a goal kicker as well. Well, I thought it was really exciting, but you've just got to just put a bit of a lid on it, because for him, his fourth year now, it becomes about consistency. He's not going to play every game like that, but it starts again next week against the Saints. And he had a shocker in round one last year before he got injured against the Tigers. Had an absolute howler. So we want to make amends for that. So I thought that was a really good sign yesterday. Midfield rotations were okay. Thought we mixed a lot through there. Pretty much staple with Cripps in at most of them with Pitnet. You know, good to see Williams in there. That's what they're going to trial. And I thought he was okay in there. I think he won the first two clearances of the game out of the middle. You know, Dow was in there quite a bit, and Walsh. Interesting one, Walsh into the centre square. I don't think he won many clearances out of the middle. Wouldn't mind Walshy maybe starting on a wing with his running power. I think he could be probably the most damaging wingman in the competition. I don't know if he's a centre square player. We'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. We saw Martin in there at times. A little bit quiet yesterday, Jack Martin, but we know he can play. The interesting one for me, I mean, we saw Fogarty in there for a couple cunners in there. Stocker went in there. No Setterfield, played as a defensive winger. Spent most of last year after round 3 or 4, sort of plying him straight in the middle, and was pretty effective. So we didn't see him at any centre bounces. And the big one for me was Ed Curnow. It wasn't until the second half that he went in there. He was virtually unsighted in that first half playing. I don't know, I couldn't even tell you what role Ed Curnow was playing. Was he playing half forward? Was he playing sometimes up on a wing? Very ineffective. So whether there is a changing of the guard in that regards, I know a couple of times his ball use was pretty poor going inside forward 50. And that's a wait and see as far as I'm concerned. But I like this is what Bolton did a couple of years ago. He tried those younger guys when they were probably too young into the midfield, and now T gets that opportunity now that they're bigger and stronger and a lot more mature. So will Ed? I don't think so, but will Ed be on the way out? Have we moved past Ed Curnow? We can't play them all, and if he's not playing in the midfield as a run with player, a lockdown tagger, which I think, do we still want to go with a lockdown tagger? What is his role other than that? Where else can he play? That's a big question for me. I'd like to give a special mention to Pitnet. I was worried. I heard some rumours that he copped a pretty bad head knock with Tom De Koning, and we know that De Koning's down. Good to hear news about him with his back. He'll be back shortly. Probably not for round one, but it was great to see Pitnet get through the game yesterday. I thought he's pretty good. We know what we're going to get with Pitnet. Is a contest. He's not the most polished ruckman in regards to hit-outs. I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive. I thought he showed a lot more aggression last year, but going forward and kicking a couple of goals was good. But to get through the game and not have any repercussions of what I thought was sort of rumours coming out that he'd had some pretty bad concussion was a big plus for me. And I thought Willow, I've looked at a lot of sort of reviews of the games and no one's really mentioned Tom Williamson. I like to see him really get pushed up to that wing. I really would. I just thought his body shape has even changed. I reckon he's stripped down even more. I reckon this is his second pre-season since his back injury. He looks in super nick, Tom Williamson, and I think he could be a real weapon up around on that wing as well. I thought his game, particularly up until about halfway through the third quarter, was really good, and I thought it was underrated and something which has gone unnoticed. So I thought they were the positives. Not a hell of a lot else to take out of it in regards to, I don't know, has anything changed other than the fact that we do want to move the ball a lot quicker from our back half, with the likes of Doherty, and it wasn't weird not to have Simo there. Every time I saw Williams, I thought it was Simo. But there's no doubt we're going to move the ball a lot quicker, which is exciting. But we have to have threats forward of centre. Some of the negatives, not so much negatives, but for me, I'm none the wiser about a few of these things. I thought defensively we were pretty slack. I know it's a practice game and players are probably not going full throttle. There was some nice transition. But overall, I thought we didn't defend particularly at all well. I thought Essendon had a lot of uncontested marks inside forward 50. I thought they found too much space. Now, I'm not quite sure if that's a team defence problem or defenders just not concentrating. There was a lot of throwing of the arms on certain stages from our defenders. So that's something that needs to be fixed. I thought from a forward point of view, I thought there was some easy transitions. So our defensive pressure inside our forward 50, I thought was pretty ordinary as well. And I thought Essendon transitioned the ball really quickly from their back half. And we know they're able to do that. We know Essendon are able to do that. But let's face it, they don't have McKenna anymore and they don't have Adam Sada anymore, but they're still able to do it against us. So is that us breaking down as half forwards or through the midfield? But it's something that definitely needs to be fixed. They were able to find a lot of space inside their forward 50, where I thought that's an area where we struggled, was actually to find some space. To let a bloke who's not even on the list, Alec Waterman, to kick 4 goals and mark so strongly, I thought was disappointing. I thought Plowman had his pants pulled down by a second-year player in Harry Jones. So he got a bit of a touch-up. And this is the problem with Lockie Plowman. And I'm not picking on him, and it's easy to throw Lockie Plowman under the bus, but these are the performances he puts in. Like, he can give you a really good performance and a workmanlike performance on a dangerous small forward. But then when he doesn't have the matchup, like a taller player, like a Jones or a Bailey Fritsch, or, there was a number of players that took him to task last year, we get this really sort of, it's almost like poor body language type game from Lockie Plowman. And internally, we know that he's highly rated, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading him. But I thought he was average yesterday defensively. And I just think as a back 6 or 7, we just need to be a lot tighter. And I think that hopefully that's something which will come. It will have to come pretty early on, because we're going to have our work cut out against the Saints next week and then going into round 1. The concern for me is the wings. I think we've got the midfield rotations, and I see the wings as separate to the midfield rotations. I think the traditional winger is back in vogue and has become a really important part, of a team structure. I don't know about Nunes as a winger. I really don't. I can cop Setters if he plays like he did yesterday as that defensive winger. I don't think we can have two defensive wingers. I think we need one who's purely, who's willing to defend but is attacking and damaging. I don't think them two are attacking or damaging. So it's a big watch for me in that regards. Nunes is a workhorse. He can kick a nice goal. He can't kick on the 45. There was a stage in the third quarter where he got two possessions in a matter of like 30 seconds. He went down conservatively, defensively down the line with one, which was turned over. And then the ball was kicked straight back to him. Then he did the 45 inboard and turned it over. Luckily, it didn't result in an Essendon goal, but it just shows you that his foot skills are not damaging enough or penetrating enough for a winger. Do they have the leg speed? I don't know. It's just an area where I think we could experiment a little bit more with. Is it a Williamson? Does Cottrell get an opportunity on a wing just because of his running power? Do we maybe try and get an extra midfielder into that rotation and push Walsh back out into a wing where he can use his running ability because he works so hard each way? Yeah, it's something that I'd like them to experiment with a little bit more. Didn't like, look, we kicked the 95 points, but I thought, I don't know about him. I'm not sold yet on the forward setup, and I know we've got a few players out. I know Levi's out. He needs to come in to give Pitt a chop out. I can't have Moore or the other dude from Melbourne, Oscar McDonald. Geez, that's a disaster, isn't it? One of those is going to get an opportunity, and that to have one of those blokes on our list is really disappointing. So we need Levi back inside forward 50, and playing that 10% in the ruck. I don't know whether it's there's definitely an issue getting the ball into the right hands going inside forward 50. I thought Jack led well, but did he lead aggressively enough? Did the ball get kicked over his head, or same with Harry? It's really hard to say. I don't know whether there's a lot of forward nous in that front half. I really don't. We're playing Fisher as a small forward. I know he kicked 3, but it took him a hell of a long time to work into the game. His first goal came from a nice tackle, but I didn't see anything to suggest yesterday. It's our first game whether he's a true small forward. Same with Cunningham. I don't know if I can have him in the forward half as a permanent forward. Murph is an interesting one. As a high half forward. My concern with Murph playing that role is does he tackle enough? Does he put enough defensive pressure on? We know what he can do well. He did really well yesterday. It was a couple of really nice kicks inside forward 50, set up a couple of goals. He's worth persevering there, but I don't know. Fogarty is a small forward. No, not on yesterday's performance. Thought Jack Silvani, as I mentioned, was pretty disappointing. Didn't make the most of his opportunities. Was pretty poor in the air. I don't know. And Harry, we've got to give Harry some time, bit of continuity in that game. So I wasn't overly confident. We did kick 95 points, but I didn't think Essendon had a particularly strong back 6 or 7. So, look, and if you look, and these are premiership side forward lines, and I reckon we're a far way off it. I know Charlie's out. We haven't got him at the moment, and Gov's out. But Gov hasn't done a lot, to be perfectly honest. But you look at the small forwards out of the last few premiership teams, and you go Rioli, Richmond, Castagna, Butler, Richmond, and then you throw in Bolton as those medium sort of small forwards, all natural small forwards who know how to find space, know how to kick a goal, great defensively with their defensive pressure. So there's a combination of everything, and they're specialised. They're specialised in that position. I don't think we've got one specialised small forward. Eddie, Eddie is, but he's on his last legs. So that's a concern. And you look, West Coast, Willie Rioli, Jason Cripps and Liam Ryan. I mean, all natural small forwards, medium forwards. We're running with Foggy, Cunningham, Fisher, it's, I don't know, Murphy. To me, that doesn't cut it. I don't think it's going to cut it this year. I really don't. So that's a worry. And then you even go back to the Dogs of 2016, and they stole that flag. They really did. But at the same time, you look at Stringer, natural forward. You've got McLean, can kick a goal. Toby McLean. You look at Tory Dixon, one of the best sort of small, medium forwards in the game. Just great forward craft. I don't know who's got forward craft. So do we blame the inside 50s, the entries inside 50s, or we blame blokes who really just haven't got an idea how to play forward? It's an interesting one moving forward. That's about it, guys, for my first practice match review. It's not all doom and gloom. I look forward to the game against the Saints next week, and obviously the one that really counts is the one against the Bombers in round 1 in 3 weeks' time. See you soon.